You can easily just look at a lot of the people in the community who live in Japan and post in Japanese and just translate it and see that a lot of them are frustrated with how typical of any country, right? Frustrated with how your government's promises aren't coming to fruition that is satisfying everyone, you know.
I want to take a moment to chime in if you guys don't mind.
Yeah.
So back to what Brian and also what you were saying, Dip. It's like, you know, us as in being like content creators, researchers, you name it. It's like a lot of us, will mention $1 Jasmy, different price predictions, even when it comes to like being extremely conservative. Now, last Saturday, when we had the whole thing of the Jasmy Roundtable, I remember seeing your DM, Brian, and it was like morning time for me, right? Like way before the broadcast started with Rob and Jesse KR Finance, and I had to kind of like wipe my eyes, and like they kind of blew up when you mentioned the whole thing of like that KPI target of the 1787 being conservative
So,
because
uh, real quick, so the
yeah.
KPI target, um, the KPIs are just the three numbers related to users, um, uh, uh, per capita valuation of data, and then they have their own custom um, ratio that Hara created in order to help investors kind of value Jasmy coin against the total market cap of data they have on the platform. So there is no KPI for 1787. That was Dip's conservative calculation, just literally doing the math of the PDR, price to data value ratio. So since you can't use traditional TradFi ratios like price to earning or price to book, like there's no way to do that with Jasmy. Jasmy coin is valued specifically against, or intended to be valued specifically against the total value of data from active users on the platform. So 107 million active PDL users, not ones who haven't activated their or aren't, participating in anything, just accumulating their data, but active users based on the verbiage they use. And it's a valuation of $500 per PDL of data on average per person. Some people may be 2,000, some people may be 100, who knows? But when you multiply 107 million times 500, that's when you have $53.5 million valuation for the total data. And that's where valuing Jasmycoin against it, Hara's ratio, the multiplier he used, the price to data value ratio of 16.7 is multiplied against that, which gives you an insane market cap of $853 billion for Jasmycoin, which I've kind of equated to as like maybe it's like considered data under management because you have all these PDLs spread across different companies. And they're those companies' customers, but the customers are storing their data within the PDL that's managed by the consortium blockchain. So it's a consortium of companies. So I kind of look at it instead of like assets under management, that market cap would kind of represent a data under management, so to speak. So it's not like Jasmy, the company, can go sell their company for that amount of money. It just means that that's the total. It's meant to represent the total value of Jasmy coin. Now, if you have a market cap, that's all we have is like the market cap. We don't know what the circulating supply is or the price of Jasmine would be. So yeah, to I know what you're getting at. I did have a chance to listen to a little bit of that video. I haven't gone back and finished your live stream yet. I've been slammed with that you, Rob, and Jesse were doing.
That's okay. You have a baby. You have family. I
No,
mean,
it's all good. I
congratulations, by
try to
the way.
keep up
Yeah.
when I'm at work. I have my headphones in sometimes, but yeah, the what you were getting at is that yes, that's the deflationary aspect of the actual tokenomics that's built into this. Is that as one, if all 50 billion coins were counted into that market cap that they put out there with a PDR, like the multiplier of 16.7 times the actual total value of data that's being held in PDLs. Well, then that gives you a price of 1787. However, based on Hara also recently confirming that in the original road map for Jasmy Coin, when he says uh, the market. He uses the word market. He doesn't say exchange. He says the market is the exchange in this recent AMA. So that would essentially mean that the estimates for circulating supply they showed in the original Jasmycoin roadmap would mean that they expect to only have 15 billion coins in circulation by the time the whole thing is up and running through staking to activate wallets, whatever other type of utility they find for Jasmycoin, because they're working on multiple angles. So that's all to be determined, right? Like, first of all, people used to say, "Hey, let's just get over a penny. We're over a penny. Let's just take it step by step and see how this thing plays out," because what he's trying to do is something that isn't done in cryptocurrency. Like, currently, crypto is only really valued by circulating supply, market depth, liquidity, etc. It's not valued the way TradFi is, where you have all these different ratios. You have historical benchmarks you can compare to other companies with a variety of ratios. He has mentioned that he wants to put out other ratios as well to help people further value Jasmycoin against the data marketplace or however other ways. I just don't have any details on that, and I'd still like an answer from him. I know Dip is more dubious, like, you know, with the uh, me going way too deep into thinking about that, but he put that number down, so I'm wondering why he chose that number for a PDR multiplier against that.
It's so
Um,
good. The way I look at it personally is, a lot of people who are new to this space, they'll look at, and let's face it, a lot of people have done this probably from the beginning of their journey. They look at the price of the coin. I love the example you mentioned. I mean, even at where we're currently at, all right, Ethereum, you have a $400 billion market cap. So literally with what you're mentioning for the future of those projections, and I get it as we get more into the this bull run. I mean, that would put Jasmy at a little over double Ethereum's market cap. I mean, guys, when we say things like, what is the all-time high for the coin? In reality, you should put more emphasis on what is going to be the all-time high or the current all-time highs as far as market cap perspective goes. When we almost touched 3 cents for Jasmy, for as far as market cap perspective, that was the all-time highs. So I'm glad that Brian's breaking that down and giving some of these perspectives. And you're right, I did read that DM that you had, Brian, where you were putting in those ratios and so on, as far as valuation and so on, and breaking that down. What did they have to go off of? Right, you're right. In regards to the whole thing of traditional finance, I've learned something recently from you that Dip also has a finance background. I also have a finance background, so I can respect that somebody like Hara, who has accounting background, is taking that all into account. But just real quick, back to the whole thing about what you were mentioning in regards to data. So on the low end of that $500, what was that like? The average and so on. As we know, as this thing progresses and so on, we go to this layer two. We talk about data sets and so on. One of the things I cover a lot is the differences of data. I'm sure Dip and some of you other guys that listen to the program, I use this example all the time, and that is you know the data valuation of a kid who's buying like a $1 skin or something off of Fortnite, right, or from a loot box. I mean, yeah, that has valuation, but you compare that to something like a large data set of, for example, medical data. That data set is we're talking about game changer. So all this stuff to take into account. I'm literally looking at it from the point of view of the industry disruptors. I think you used this term about maybe 20 minutes ago, Brian. The industry disruptors. I kind of look at Jasmy as being like the kryptonite towards something like Google. I know Gotha gets mentioned quite a bit, but I mean Google's part of that mix, in which you have that concept of centralized data and you know people who just freely gave it away, and they made an absolute fortune off of that data. To have Jasmy be a disruptor of that industry, and especially respecting the country of Japan and protecting data privacy and so on. Yes, Dip is right. There's not a lot of examples of full utility or full utility in motion. I try to cover ones obviously like Stellar. I feel big and bullish on the concepts of For example, MoneyGram and all this working together. But that concept of monetization and disrupting the centralized players, and then when you look at the bigger picture where we're going, I think obviously Panasonic is just the tip of the iceberg. I think we're going to see more of this snowball effect happen. But I don't think, honestly, you guys are too far off when it comes to these market cap predictions, if you want to call it that. When we talk about the bigger picture, you got to look at market cap. So, anyway, I want to kick it back to whoever wants to take that. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak.
Of course, you don't have to say thank you. We're happy you're here. So yeah, the way I look at the PDR, I'm like, look, if there's no comparable company to compare it to, then it's worth nothing. Like, I think it's just something that, Hara, coming from an accounting background, was like, okay, this is a fair way to do it to get traditional finance people on board. But it's also like, if there's no, like, let's use tech companies as an example, like Samsung and Apple would be good, like somewhat good comparisons, because Apple also makes a lot of computers. I don't know too many people that have Samsung laptops. I think they exist, but it's a tech company. But then, these are all blockchain companies, which you can also say, oh, they're tech companies. Like, we're always going to look at whatever's in the future as being a tech company. But, and then you also look at the specific ratio they're using, which is around data. And then how many companies are going to value themselves based on data, whether you use a publicly traded company on a stock exchange or a crypto company. Like, I can't imagine a company that's listed on a stock exchange even thinking about it this way, because they also might not want to divulge how much data they have. So that's also a problem. So like, I don't pay too much attention to it, to be honest with you. If we get to $500 of data per user, which Hara said they could get higher, and he seemed pretty confident, and we get 107 million users, which Hara again did seem confident. Jasmy is not going to go to 1787. It's going to go way higher than that. Like, if they can actually achieve those two things, like, I'm saying it's hard. I'm saying it's very hard. I also see a lot of people who are in crypto or in Jasmy, they'll be gone by 10 cents. They'll be gone by 20 cents. They're here to just flip. The influencers who are calling for $3 and all that stuff, they're calling for those values because they didn't do a lick of research, but it's high enough to bring retail money in so that they can dump on you at a much shorter price. Like, that's what they're doing, right? Like, but I think there's still a lot that has to be achieved, and I think if they can get to that level of utility, it's going to go way higher. Because you also look at, if you want to use the ratio, right? If you just use ratios in general, price to earnings, whatever, most tech companies, especially if they're in the newest and biggest and brightest industry, they trade for way above whatever would be deemed like quote unquote normal. Like, their industry average is going to be way above. So like, when Apple was a growth company, it wasn't trading at like 20 times its price to earnings ratio. It was probably trading at 60, 70, 80. When Amazon was finally profitable, they were probably trading at over 100. Nvidia is probably at like 50, 60 right now, right? And those, Nvidia right now is one of the hottest tech companies out there, if not the. Just checking my phone. Okay, so it's at 73. Nvidia, 2.2 trillion market cap and all that, and like, that's how it's going to be. That's how it's always been. I expect that trend to continue because there's some people invest based on the potential growth opportunity. So like, they think, okay, well, this is the newest and biggest and brightest industry right now, so we expect it to grow further in the future. So that's why we're investing in it. That's why we're willing to pay, or quote unquote overpay. We don't see it as overpaying because we think this is still where the opportunity lies. So I think not only Jasmy will be like that, there will be other cryptocurrencies that are going to be like that, right? It's just, this is a space about Jasmy, and it's Jasmy's birthday, so we're not going to talk about other cryptocurrencies. So
Yeah, that's one thing you and
yeah.
I have talked about before, Dip, is like a lot of people put way too much salt into market cap comparisons, especially when we're in the precipice of just a global change in terms of how everything is done from all these disruptive technologies. You just look at 20 years ago, there weren't trillion-dollar companies. The total global market cap, I think, has 4x since 2000, if I'm correct. I think it was around it might have been 2x, but I thought I had 4x. I'd have to look up that number again, or at least in the peak of COVID when everything kind of had a blow off top. Um, Market caps are a bit dubious to say that they're unattainable or things won't go to that, especially when you're looking at what exactly is uh, Jasmy supposed to be valued on? Well, it's valued on data. Data is the oil for artificial intelligence going forward in the future. So that's why it's so important to understand that data will be one of the most important commodities of this entire century going forward. With all these companies, AI is the hottest thing. I'm sure it's going to have an interim or short term blow off top until things really start to take hold and are really utilized in our everyday lives with agentic AI and embodied AI and robotic systems over the next 10, 15 years. But data is going to be driving all of that. And to have massive stores of data to trade and pull from and incentivize users to uh, sell in order for you to create what's referred to by Jasmine as platinum data or artificial intelligence refined data, um, which I'm sure is done through iterances, and that's why you're going to see a lot of uh, agentic or AI agents rather, because what they can do that we can't, like right now when I use ChatGPT, I have to ask it something. It'll give me a response. I'll have to refine that. It'll give me a better response. I'll have to refine that. It'll give me a better response if I'm looking for something specific. So I have to constantly go back and iterate and get it to kind of refine to a either whatever I'm looking for, like writing an essay or researching something or just asking it a question in general. Sometimes it doesn't always give you like a 100% good answer. It might be 60% with one topic or 40 or 80% correct. But AI agents can actually do that on their own. So right now, what you're looking at is that the more data you have, not just from actual human data, but also from simulations, everything else, the value of data is going to be absolutely insane. So whether or not Jasmine is the one to do it, I mean, we're obviously betting on the project and betting that it can actually succeed in its goals and everything, but you're going to have companies that are going to be doing this. And you're going to see absolutely insane valuations for companies going forward. Just in the next 10 years, you're going to see market caps of a trillion start popping up all over the place. And that just also comes with inflation. So I wouldn't, for anyone listening, I wouldn't really put too much weight into market caps.
Yeah, but it's also the only thing we got right now that's like the
Yeah.
closest thing to fair, which kind of stinks. But as coins and projects start building utility, that's when things will start to change. But anyway, when that day comes, you might already be retired. So, do you want to talk about monitoring zone?
Yeah, just real quick on the Binance monitoring zone because we always get questions on it. First, last year when that happened, Hara did meet with Binance. He met with the chief marketing officer, which, if you actually notice and follow Binance officers, you'll also notice that they've been following Hara since that time. Dip and I think every time Hara follows someone new, we follow them. I also follow almost everyone I follow. I think I might only follow 100 to 200 people in the community. The rest of like 1,400 people I follow are all businesses and different people in the industry that I have no communication with. I'm just interested in what they're doing and who they follow. But he's been working with Binance Japan since last year. They've had several suggestions for him. I still think the whole thing was BS that they got put in the monitoring zone when they did, because they definitely deserved it under the previous management. But they got put in the monitoring zone after the manager buyout and after we had just gotten diluted by over 40 billion tokens that was outside of the original tokenomics and coin release schedule. So either way, we're here. So he is working with them actively. One thing to point out is that um, one, a lot of the did pointed out that a lot of the tokens in the monitoring zone that were put into it at the same time as Jasmy, a lot of them have been delisted. Jasmy is not. Likewise, Jasmy, during the time it has been in the monitoring zone for Binance, got listed on Binance Japan. So, Binance last year in June announced that they would be, or officially kind of started rolling out after they bought Secure Exchange and renamed it to Binance Japan, started rolling out their crypto asset exchange service provision of Binance Japan, where they, I think, have the most amount of tokens listed, which is a big deal in Japan because I think there's less than 100 tokens in total listed on all the exchanges of individual types. They're very, very strict there. So it's just curious that they would be listed on a subsidiary of Binance, but in the monitoring zone for the parent. So whatever. We'll we'll just see how all that plays out. I don't really care about it, to be honest. I know a lot of people are worried about. I think a lot of people worry about things that just aren't concerns of mine. Maybe that's just me because my head's more focused on the big picture and where the project's going in general. And this stuff is like just the little lockups right now, monitoring zone status, whether it gets delisted from Binance or not. None of that is even a worry of mine. And you also have to remember that HARS mentions that they're developing a way to where you can utilize and connect to Binance without actually going through their app. You can do it through the actual Jasmy super wallet that they should be rolling out in this roadmap, or at least starting to. So yeah, that's that monitoring zone. And then Dip, I know we'd already started on the Panasonic partnership
Yeah.
and everything
Yeah.
else. Was there anything
I had
else
a
you wanted to go ahead?
Yeah, for the monitoring zone, I had a couple things. So
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I genuinely think if we will get out, right? We will get out of the monitoring zone. Not with a delist, but we'll be back on the Binance exchange as regular without any monitoring tags or any other crap. We'll still have the infrastructure tag, but that's because that's the type of cryptocurrency it is. So don't ever freak out about that. But I do think if we don't get out by July, I think it's a little bit of BS. Like, I don't know if we'll necessarily get out this month, which I did look at when they've announced other coins getting out of the innovation zone, not necessarily getting delisted or getting into the innovation zone, but getting out. And it was it wasn't necessarily like April 1st or the first week of April. They could have different processes now that they have a new CEO and all that stuff, but it could still happen in a couple of weeks. But I do think that the Panasonic news might have come in a little too late, so it could roll over to the next quarter. But also, it's one of those things where if the project has been building, not the end of the world. It's just another opportunity if you want to buy. It's going to come in cheaper because the day that Binance announces that they're out, the price is going to go up. You obviously know the
Oh
price is going
yeah,
to go up.
you're right about that.
It's going to go up. So then if you think, it's a simple question. Do you think it's going to get out? If yes, are you interested in buying more or thinking if you should buy more? Then it might make sense. If you're going to wait till after that point, like let's say it goes to 4 cents, right? Then you're going to get half as much Jasmy as if you had just, grew a pair and just went for it, right? Because you also think okay, well, even if it doesn't get out, or if it does, if it gets delisted, it's still okay, it's not the end of the world. But I don't think with the Binance Japan connection and all that stuff, I don't think that's going to happen. And also, Hara told me that he's I went to dinner with him in Japan as well, a separate day. So I went to the office and then I went to dinner with him. he told me that they have like a pretty good relationship with the Binance Japan folks. So, you know, I understand we are on Binance Japan, but not necessarily, but we're on the monitoring zone in regular Binance. But I think that's got to be worth something. It's just a matter of when they get out. But I do think, you know, I think it'll happen in July. That's my prediction. I'm not speaking on behalf of the other folks here. I'm not speaking on behalf of any of the other folks in the
I agree
community.
with your prediction, but we'll see. But I
Yeah.
lean towards Dip's current hypothesis on the matter, so to speak.
Yeah. Oh crap! I had one more thing to say. I forget. But the other thing is, if you've been looking at Coin Market Cap, Binance does the second most volume for Jasmy, which, actually, no, technically it does the most, but xt.com does a lot of volume for Jasmy. Like, because if you look at Binance as a whole, you know, I think there's two pairs, and then there's the Turkey, Binance Turkey, which Turkey is listed as a separate line item in CoinMarketCap. Binance Turkey is. So, like, you know, they do a lot of volume, but XT helps Jasmy out a lot, where that same level of volume isn't done for other coins on XT. So, like, even Bitcoin, for example, like Bitcoin isn't most frequently traded on xt.com or even close to. So
Which
it shows.
XT was listed as one of the first exchanges on the 2021 recap they released back in the day. And I still want to ask Akira Dip because Akira has or had, I haven't checked recently, under his Twitter bio, it said XT, and I couldn't tell if he was implying that he was a founder of XT.
Yeah,
So I
co-founder or
want to,
co-funder.
yeah,
Yeah,
something like that. So I want to know
yeah,
what that's about.
yeah. I met Akira in person too. Um, Quite the character, I'll say that. Um, but yeah, I think we can move on to the next thing. Do you want to talk about? Yeah, you have the list open. You want to just go through it?
Yeah, I see where you're scrolling to.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Go for it.
yeah, so just to kind of give a quick rundown on the Panasonic partnership, because I know, you know, Jesse, KR Finance, Maximus, Rob, and their videos have talked about it. There's been plenty of posts about it on Twitter. But Hara's developing the IoT platform with Panasonic. One quick note on that, actually, that I do want to mention is that Aplix also has an IoT platform. Sony has an IoT platform. NTT Data has an IoT platform. JasmyNet, which is the Jasmy platform, is able to safely and securely connect IoT devices and IoT platforms so that users can hold on to their own data and companies don't have to worry about that. And then it can create a new type of value system through a data trading marketplace. So anyway, the Panasonic IoT platform is going to be developed over the next 3 to 6 months with Jasmy. They're going to be doing a demonstration of IoT data utilization. That to me is going to be a big deal. We may not hear anything about that. It's kind of one of those things where the roadmap that we see, what they gave us information on, is has typically and historically been only a portion of a much larger PowerPoint. This one didn't have any page numbers on it, but back in the day, we would get like a roadmap or bits and pieces of information, and you would see page 17, and we're like, what about the other pages? So a lot of this stuff, you know, Jasmy is a private company and they're not going to be releasing all the information publicly, but they give us a few tidbits that they're able to share. So that you're just going to have to deal with that because we're not actually shareholders with any type of rights. You know, we're just buying coins on exchanges, hoping for capital gain in the future. Hara did mention that Panasonic, as we touched on earlier, will be using the PDLs rather. I already spoke on the 100K goal for PDLs that Hara mentioned for fiscal year 24. They also have on the roadmap the AI refinement with additional PDL specifications and expansion of the blockchain PC functionality with AI. Wallet implementation. And I did post up in the Jumbotron some of the older slides that Jasmy management account had shared back in middle of 2022. This kind of pretty much still stands based on everything they've talked about and kind of highlights about just how the ecosystem works in relation to the tokenomics listed in the roadmap, DD coin, the wallet, etc. So the wallet implementation is one of the biggest things because in that actual post I did, um, I quoted one thing Hara had mentioned in May of last year, where he said on Twitter, you don't need a wallet to store data. It's recorded on the server PDL or personal data locker. A wallet is needed to value the data as a token. You don't need a wallet if you just get points like DD points from the company using the data. If you get tokens, you need a wallet. That's why we need it. So this was responding to someone's question on Twitter from last May, but it kind of highlights the importance of the actual wallet, right? Like if we want to see Jasmycoin actually being have its proper utility, intended white paper utility, not any other utilities they've come up with or ideas they've come up with. This is how we need it to happen. The DD coin, or the Japanese yen-backed stablecoin, that is Jasmy had asked their partner Apex to file for the payment services application in order to be the provider of that stablecoin. I'm probably not using the exact right terminology, but they're the ones who filed for that on behalf of Jasmy in order to get that. So stablecoin regulation as of last year in Japan, just for anyone who's wondering. Um, Essentially, they made it after, was it last year or the year before? I'm trying to remember because it's all a blur, but whether it was a year later or right out or the summer after, it was after um, the whole Terra Luna collapse that they made it to where stable coins in Japan had to be yen backed stable coins. They are going to, there's a lot of talks on revising that, and they may have. I haven't looked into it in a while to start allowing other stable coins back in. But so that's why Jasmy's going with a DD coin, or data democracy stable coin. And then they also have points. That's a whole other complicated thing to talk about, which we can get into another time in terms of how the point system works for rewards, and then converting those into Jasmy coin or DD coin or whatever the case may be. However, companies purchase data on the data marketplace with Jasmy coin. So they have to buy that Jasmy coin from exchanges, which is what the first graphic is kind of highlighting there. Anyway, with the carbon credit exchange, so in I think especially the United States, uh, it's so polarized here that these are typically topics I don't even discuss, just because I start getting swarms of bots in my DMs that are pushing things on me. It's just weird being in the U.S. and seeing how polarized we are on some things, but other parts of the world either aren't as polarized or are receptive to it. But the carbon credit exchange is essentially using what's known as J credits and other tokens. The burn mechanism that's mentioned in the roadmap is not for Jasmycoin. So it's a credit offset functionality with token burn. And you can watch the AMA on Telegram. Uh, uh, Mai actually had put it on his YouTube channel. I'll see if I can find where I shared that and put it up in the Jumbotron too. Because Hara Mai asked him in that AMA more about the J credits. but a lot of us have kind of done research on that over the years. If you're really wondering what a lot of this stuff means, your best bet is to follow a lot of the Japanese longtime Jasmy supporters, and you're just going to have to translate their text. But a lot of them are receptive for answering whatever your questions are, like Hyde Para, who's been listening below, Level 8, who's an ambassador. There's Jasmycoin, who is another ambassador. But there's plenty of people out there if you're willing to just paste things into Twitter and message them, or reply to them in Japanese and then just translate it when it comes back in Japanese. So that's what most of us have